I'm Greta and I'm one of the teachers of English Literature in the department. I want to talk to you today about a particular skill that relates to two of the assessment objectives, 2 out of the 4 assessment objectives for literature, which is AO1 and AO2. And just a reminder, AO1 relates to producing a fluent, well-focused on the question, answer that uses literary terminology. And AO2 is referring specifically to the language, form and structure of the literature, sections of the literature, as they relate to the key demands of the question. AO1, AO2, equal weight for each, equal weight for all assessment objectives, very important. And sometimes neglected, particularly AO2, language, form and structure, because people are not using P.E.E. consistently. Now you will be familiar with P.E.E., I'm sure, from GCSE. A useful acronym to remind you about being systematic in your answers. So you are confronted with an exam question, an essay question. Crucially, you find the key word, the key demand in that question. You must address that, really important for AO1. Having done that, you'll then decide which poems, parts of poems, which parts of the novel, which parts of the play, but I'm concentrating on poetry today, relate to addressing that keyword in the question. Choose those. This is all in your planning stage, such an important stage. But thirdly, the really important part of P.E.E. is that you personally have to show the examiner, the marker, what is the precise relationship between that keyword or idea in the question and the evidence that you've produced. You do not leave it to the examiner to decide what the connection is. So you have to expand, elaborate on how your chosen sections relate to the key idea of the question. Now, in the second year of A-level literature, one of the poets that we study is John Donne, a Renaissance poet, contemporary of Shakespeare. Sometimes the language can be a bit difficult, but here is a perfect example of a student addressing a particular question about John Donne. He's often accused of being contemptuous of women. So imagine that this particular question is, how far could it be argued that John Donne's treatment of women shows contempt? Here is the section of answers. So there is evidence to argue that Donne's poetry can be interpreted, and notice there is evidence that it can be interpreted, flexibility in your interpretation, as misogynistic. Misogyny, the most extreme form of contempt for women. That is a focus on the key word of the question, showing the examiner you're clearly focused on providing precisely what you've been asked for. Interpreted as misogynistic. Straight into the evidence, no more waffle. Go catch a falling star, one of his poems. Here is the quote. And swear nowhere lives a woman true and fair. Further evidence. One swallow does not make a summer. Just quoting one poem where he's misogynistic won't prove that he can be. We need another. And Love's Alchemy, a second poem by him. Hope not for mind in women. Now we have, to complete this reference to those two poems, each, respectively in their turn, point to the perceived infidelity. A woman is not true. She's not faithful, infidelity, and lack of intellect, hopefully not for mind, to be found in women. That's what they do. But that's not enough. We're talking about elaborate, expand on the connection between your references to text and the key word of the question, contempt for women, misogynistic. So, one final sentence. The certainty in the verb swear, here, swear nowhere, the conviction in the negative nowhere, and the sarcasm in the absurdity of the idea of a woman with a mind intellect, here, where are we? Hope not for mind in women, clearly suggest contempt for women. Reference again to a key word of the question. Perfect P.E.E. Top marks.